So the first thing I want to kind of clear up for the group is, and this is a really functional idea in regards to flow, and it's the idea of law of attraction, because it's actually a very grounded, understandable principle that all of us can, well, all of us have related to and maybe have researched, but it's actually just the way that physics works. It's just physics. But when we misunderstand it, we think we have to do something to attract something. And we think that we have to learn how to attract. Now that's the biggest misconception that we've created, that we aren't, it was like Jackie said, we are always manifesting our reality. And so the belief, and I like to think of it like this, think of a light of information, a stream of your consciousness constantly being sent to you, constantly being sent. This is also why we don't necessarily need to ask for more support than we're already being given, because we're always being given everything we need in every moment. When we ask for support, what we're actually doing is we're tuning in to the support that we already have, right? That's already being sent to us. That support, that energy that our body translates as excitement, as inspiration, either then gets expressed as anxiety or excitement. Those are typically the two states. And so when I'm receiving the information, I'm either going to filter it through my belief system, which if it's a negative belief system, will be expressed as anxiety. If it's a positive belief system, which really just means it's facilitating the energy of my consciousness, of who I am, of what my essence is, well, then it'll be experienced as excitement. Law of attraction typically says, once you think a certain thought and feel a certain way and then do certain things and, have your vision board and focus on it so much, and, there's the car, there's the Mercedes, and just keep looking at it every day, and then sit in your Volvo, which I actually did this, sit in your Volvo and just like imagine I'm in a Mercedes, like that. You have to do all that to get a Mercedes. Actually, it really is. I've learned that now, because I actually did get the Mercedes, and I'm like, God, I wish I still had the Volvo. And so there's all this unnecessary doing, when in reality, this is how the law of attraction works. Basic stuff. You are always, 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 always putting out your true core essential self, your true soul signatures, always being put out. That means, because one of the laws, like we talked about yesterday, is what you put out is what you get back. That means there's constantly everything that you need being barreling towards you. Constantly, everything you need is on its way to you. That's your natural state. Right? You think of a baby, the baby lives so in the moment, always acting on its inspiration in every moment, going, oh, I want to go look at this person. And then the person goes to engage and like, I'm bored now, just walks away. You're like, wow, rude little baby, just doesn't care, on to the next thing, probably not thinking about me, just in flow, right? That baby typically has everything he needs, everything she needs. Everyone just goes, I just want to take care of you. What do you need? Right? That's just the natural state. So it's not that you have to learn how to attract and how to learn how to get. It's that you have to learn to stop pushing away. You have to learn to stop pushing the things that are already on their way to you away. And the way that we push them away is by choosing beliefs that are based in negativity. Negativity as an energy state is that which compartmentalizes, that which separates, and that which disassociates. That is just the nature of negative energy. It's not morally a bad or wrong thing. It's just how that energy state works. Okay? And the other state is positivity, that which integrates, that which connects, that which brings together. That's positive energy. These are just observations of energy, right? And then the third state, which we live in a trinity, the third state is neutrality. And Jackie or Justin were saying, well, every event is neutral until we impart meaning. So one of the most empowering truths that we can come to in humanity is understanding that, in a sense, life is meaningless. And what that means is, well, if life is meaningless, that means that you are the meaning of life, because you have the free will to choose meaning based on whatever you want it to choose. But it's just most of us are unconsciously choosing negative definitions, and we don't even know it. Right? So then when we understand that, oh, if I want to change my life, I just have to change the meaning that I'm placing, or the beliefs about myself. Right? It's like being in a movie theater. We think that we're the movie on the screen, but we're actually sitting in a chair, kind of like this, and then when we're watching the screen and we go, man, this movie called my life isn't that exciting. We go, well, I probably just got to go over to the screen and change the movie. And we start trying to change the movie. And we realize it doesn't work. And we feel disempowered. We feel disconnected. What's creating the movie is how we are letting the light that is our consciousness reflect through the lens of our belief system. And so we don't ever change or affect the reality in a sense by trying to change things out there. Because again, it's just a reflection of our belief system. It's just a reflection of our own consciousness. So we go to the source, which is our belief system, and we shift it there. And I see that as a triangle, right? Very same. We're saying the same thing from different points of view. But if you imagine it as a triangle, the triangle, one side is beliefs, the other side is thought and emotion, and then the bottom is action. Same thing. That in totality creates what we call a state of being. And so when I believe this, that belief creates this emotion, the emotion attracts the thoughts, and then I act. That state of being is kind of like a lasso rope where you're like, okay, what reality do I want to experience next? And if this is my state of being, I can only lasso in realities that are congruent to that state of being that I'm in.
So the bottom is action or the bottom
Action. Action.
And then
that whole thing represents your state of being. Yeah, exactly. So when our beliefs are, and a lot of people say, especially in the spiritual community, man, just kill your ego. Like the ego's no good. Those aren't happy people. Like I've never met someone that's so happy. That's like, oh, I'm so happy I just killed and totally destroyed my ego. There's usually a little charge there like, oh, ego's so bad or wrong, right? Which is an ego thing to do. Because remember, saying that something's bad or wrong is the nature of negative energy. It's the nature of take that away, compartmentalize that. That's wrong or bad. So the ego will never go away because all the ego is meant to do is it's designed to focus you into this reality. Think about night vision goggles. If you were in the dark and you couldn't see anything, well, you couldn't interact with the reality. You'd just be wandering around going, I have no idea what's in front of my face. The ego is like putting night vision goggles on so you can see what's right in front of you so you can interact with it. That's the only purpose of the ego. That's it. To focus you into physical reality. If you want to get rid of your ego, fastest way to do it, die. That's the only way. That's the only way because we need an ego, a personality construct, to have a physical experience. So the goal isn't to get rid of the ego. The goal is to make the ego as transparent as possible to allow the light that's constantly our nature to be expressed through uninterrupted. What that looks like is every moment acting in your highest passion and excitement with no insistence of an outcome, a result, no idea of where it's going to lead you, not needing to know. You might have a direction that you're going in, but there's zero attachment to an outcome. And like the indicators, it really just looks like living in the moment. And it doesn't look like you're always running around going, I'm so excited about life. Oh my God, I'm passionate every moment. That's not what it looks like. It's like, I'm really passionate about going to take a whiz right now. That's what I got to do. And then I come back in and, I'm just drawn to talk to Justin. Okay, cool. And then momentum builds. Momentum builds. It's like the laws of motion. What you put into motion will stay in motion unless it's contradicted by something else.
Can you expand on the detaching from attachment or like
detaching from a result? Yeah.
Even when we're thinking like, we've got the big, like What is the balance that you see as the sweet spot there?
Yeah, the sweet spot is understanding that we don't know what the best outcome is. We also don't know what the most relevant outcome is. So now, thank you for opening that door because I really want to bring in the idea of relevancy. A lot of us think, man, I've had my vision board. I've been looking at the Mercedes for 2 years. I've been feeling the feelings so hard. Just been crying, feeling the feelings. I've been attracting so hard. Like every day I just sit down and go, and I attract. But it's not here. I must be doing it wrong. I must be doing something wrong. When that is not your focus anymore, the results and the outcomes as being the answer to your success, your key to I'm a spiritual aligned attracting magnet, when that's just out of your consciousness and it all comes back down to flow, when it just comes back down to what's relevant, what do I actually need versus what I want. A lot of us, we declare what we want. What we want, here's a way to tell a want versus a need. what we want, if it's not what we need, will not fulfill us. That's how you tell it. You go, man, this is it. This Mercedes, I'll be successful then. Then you get it, not fulfilled. It's not what you need. And that's why yogis live so simply, but a lot of them have profound freedom, and if they need whatever they need, they get it when they need it. Why? Because they only want what they need. So if you want to transcend want, because want in a sense is attachment. And not the saying that want is bad. It's just when you're saying, if I don't get that, I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be fulfilled. And this happens so much. This is why goal setting is a really outdated paradigm. We could talk about that in a different session or maybe here. So back to the question of detachment. Purpose of a goal is to create, and really listen to this. This is really important. The purpose of a goal is to create a certain state of being in the now. That's it. Right? On my client calls, when I get on with a client, I go, so what's the goal? Where are we going? Give me the symbol. I don't even call it a goal. I call it a symbol. What's the symbol of your passion? What's the physical form? Because remember, none of us want the form. We want the emotion behind the form.
Can you say that quote again? Purpose of a goal is to create...
To create a certain state of being in the now. So I get on the phone with my client. I'll give you an example of this. I have a client that just graduated in Ireland, and she goes, I want to coach. I've never coached before, but I'm selling my salon business, and I want to coach. And I go, great. What's the most exciting way you can possibly imagine coaching? It's my very first question. And if she can't come up with it there, I go, before we go any further, take time, go into your imagination. You pull it through, because your imagination is keyed to your path of least resistance. It's keyed to your highest expansion. It's keyed to the most abundance. All of those indicators. Your imagination is like the telephone line between your physical mind and your higher mind, and it'll put you in the right state. And literally you can get into flow in an instant by just imagining the most exciting circumstance. That's a total flow hack. Stop, dream, oh man, this is so exciting. Boom, you're in flow the moment that you start feeling excited. So I tell her, I go, so what's the goal? She goes, I want to coach. I go, great. Well, show me, what are the results? What's it look like? Well, I think maybe I should just start with getting some clients. I go, don't sound too excited, That's all, I just want some clients, And she's like, okay, well, I guess I want more than that, maybe like speaking in front of some people. Cool, how many? Oh man, it kind of feels a little scary, but really excited, like 100 or more. And I go, okay, great. Let's go 100 people, event. She's never coached anyone before. 100 people, 3 months from now, that's the goal. And she said, okay, great. And I said, now the second thing I need you to agree to. She goes, what? I go, that I'm here to help you, not necessarily create that goal. Because I have no idea what's best for you, and you don't either. That's the truth. This is the most humbling fact of our existence. We don't know what's best for us in the future. We don't know. And when we spend time with our physical mind going, I think this outcome is the best, we're actually disregarding the intelligence of God, of higher mind, that knows what's best for all. We're not designed to know that. Because do you know how complex that decision-making process would be? Okay, what's the best for my mom, my dog, everyone else? What's going to allow them to do that? It's such a complex process. It's not up to us. This is the nature. This is the thread that allows us to surrender and detach. Knowing that if I actually think I know, I slow it down. I limit myself. I go, this is the ultimate outcome and it will be no other way. Right? So for her, I said, my job isn't necessarily to help you achieve that goal. It's to put you in the state of being in that goal now and help you stay in that state of being no matter what, and integrate anything that comes up, any fear, and then we're going to create something greater than that. And it might look different, but we have to be okay with that. And she's like, okay, I can be okay with that. First agreement. Okay, let's go in. What's the next step? I'm going to start looking at venues. Okay, we're taking next steps. A bunch of fear coming up. We're integrating, which we're going to go through the whole integration process, because all you really need to do is go, I'm really excited. This is the state. Now, anything that contradicts it, I now have the tool to integrate that and then go right back into flow. That's the only toolkit you really need in life. So,
say that one more time.
Which part?
So you're in flow.
Yeah, you're in flow. All we really need to know is how to integrate the beliefs that come up that in a sense pull us out of flow, which is not really a real thing, but just experientially, to acknowledge that negative belief and be able to let it go. Because in a sense, what happens is that negative belief is siphoning off energy that could be redirected back into flow. So we go into flow, and what actually happens is we raise our frequency to a certain level where we become, in a sense, powerful enough to look at an even more dense aspect of ourselves. So think of it like going in like this. You're going in flow this way, and now you're ready to look at this aspect of yourself. And you're going this way, and now you're ready to look at this aspect of yourself. So all you really need to do is get really proficient at understanding, and I'll talk about this later, that no negative belief can actually be true about you. That's a really important belief to have. No negative belief can be true. And that all negative beliefs don't make logical sense. That's the kryptonite of a negative belief. They can't contain logic. That's why they have to do so many things to hide in your unconscious. They have to distract. They have to encourage you to blame. They have to encourage you to deny. They have to encourage you to project. They have to encourage you to believe you have no choice. And Justin and Jackie have a whole collection of ways that this shows up, and I have my own collection of ways that this shows up. So the faster we can get at recognizing, oh, I'm coming from a negative-based belief, and acknowledge that and come back into positivity, well, then we just start streamlining our energy to where 99% of the time we're in a positive space. So back to the story, that's my only role with her. I was just a reflector. This is the challenge. I'm reflecting back the beliefs that she's choosing and helping her come to that conclusion. A month in, she texts me, goes, hey, I just won a ticket for free to a health and wellness seminar where I get to go backstage and talk to all the speakers. And I go, great, that's amazing. She's like, yeah, I figured I'd just invite them all to my event and come to speak at my event. I go, great. So she shows up, she goes, wow, they all get along. They have profound similarities in their story. They all attempted suicide. I mean, she's like anti-suicide in a sense, leader now. At this stage, she's like a leader in all of Ireland. So she's backstage talking to them. And she goes, hey, I would love for you to speak at my event. It's in a couple months. They said, yes, let's do it. Oh, we might as well promote while we're here in front of these, 100 people. Hey, by the way, Cleona is going to have an event in a couple months. You can start getting your tickets now. Week goes by, she wins another ticket to another event. Gets to go backstage again. So now she got 2 backstage free events. Now she's at this one. She's like, oh, I want some of you to speak at my event. So now she has 4 women and 4 men to be panel hosts, doing panel discussions at her event. And they promoted it at that event again. And then she went to another event. She didn't win that time. She got invited by the panelists. Oh, come to this event. 3 months goes by. She ends up selling out not 100 tickets, 110 tickets, 30 people on the wait list, and fills up 3 retreats. And that happened, and she's never been a coach before. All because she allowed herself to stay in flow. And the outcome was greater than what we defined. Right? So I'm just going to go into a quick integration breakdown, and then we'll come into our exercise. Are we good on time? Doing good on time?
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I go into this, if there's like any burning question, that'd be a good time. Okay, great. Yeah, Danielson. Yes. So integration 101, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it when we preface the exercise. Integration 101. I use the acronym AAFA, AAFA. So AAFA, the first A stands for awareness. So here's just a fundamental understanding of change. You can't change what you're not aware of. And I'm going to offer you guys a definition of pattern and habit, because I hear this, if you guys were at my retreat, I'd be kind of more of like I don't want to use the word Nazi, but that's the word that came to me. More like boom, 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 laser, yeah, with us throwing around these words the entire retreat, these words. And they're just not as empowering as they could be, and that's okay. But the words are, man, I'm in a pattern again, or, oh, I just have this bad habit, or I tend to do something. Tendency, habit, and pattern, makes it seem like you're not choosing it. But if you're aware of it, you're choosing it. A habit and a pattern is only something that you're not aware of. So as soon as you become aware of a habit or pattern, it's no longer a habit or pattern, it's a choice. And once you know it's a choice, then you can start asking new questions. You can say, why would I be choosing this? Why does this make sense to choose? Because for some reason, if you're choosing it, it's because you actually think it's benefiting you, even if it's something you don't want to choose. So, first step is awareness. And typically, we become aware we're tuning in or we're acting from a negative belief when we feel a negative emotion. So it's first becoming aware, usually, of the emotion. It could be a result in your life. It could be anything beyond emotion. But starting at emotion, you're only one floor down from belief. So I'm feeling a negative emotion. Oh, now I'm aware of it. So you're not going to go trail off into an unconscious action. So awareness first. Then it's about finding the belief. But before you do that, it's about acknowledging the emotion. This is so, so important and usually challenging for most men. Yeah, second A is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement implies two things. I'm not judging the fear. So the first way to root ourselves in fear is to believe fear is bad or wrong or has no place. Fear is just a choice. It's just the nature of energy. There's no moral attachment to fear. You're not bad or wrong. You're not spiritual. All of us have fear. It still will come up. So acknowledging the fear says this is a valid expression. In fact, it's just as valid as a positive one. And you have to get to that level of acknowledgement where there's no separation between negativity and positivity. And my favorite way of doing this is simply going like this. I feel a negative emotion and I go, this. That's it. There's no story. There's no, there's something negative and there's some fear. There's, this. That's it. This. And sometimes that's enough to just let it go. Sometimes it's actually that simple. So you acknowledge it. That also implies you're taking responsibility for it. Because it's your experience, it's your emotion. Okay, I'm creating something. There's something here. There's some belief that wants to make itself known. Because fear is just a messenger. And imagine a messenger coming to your door, knocking on the door with a note. That the note can only empower you. It can only tell you more of who you are. But the fear is knocking and you're like, oh my God, I fear. I don't want to open that door because I might find something that's actually true about me. I might find out that I actually am a piece of shit, that I don't belong, whatever it is. So I'm going to avoid the fear. Well, the fear then goes, hey man, I have this empowering message for you, but you seem to not be answering. I guess I got to get louder. And it's just going to get louder and louder until you force yourself to open the door. That's called an anxiety attack, drama, trauma, whatever you want to call it. So it's helpful to, the moment that you feel something, go into it and not wait and go, whatever, it's nothing. It's helpful to say, this must be the most important thing in my life right now. This must be here to serve me exactly how it is. So, fear is present. I acknowledge that it's okay to have it, and I acknowledge that I'm creating it. Then from there, you can start asking the questions. If you don't feel the emotion fully, this is what's it all contained within acknowledgement. If you don't say, this, and give it your 100% presence, which can just simply be, okay, what does this feel like? And you're just stopping everything that you're doing and you're just giving it your 100% presence. Until you give it your 100% presence, you're in the same state of consciousness of the belief. So it's like the fear comes up. A lot of men will like to skip the feeling part and go, okay, let me think my way out of it. But they're in the same state of consciousness in which the challenge was birthed. And it's like Einstein said, right? Einstein said you can't change a problem from the same state of consciousness that the problem was created. So this is a perfect example. If you acknowledge, stay with it. Also, I want to remind everyone, you don't have to remember all this because you actually are creating, you have all of this stored in your unconscious. And when you're in flow, if you need this information, you'll actually instantly access it when you need it. And that's called not operating from memory. It's like I don't operate from memory. I'm not remembering any of this stuff. I'm just in flow. People think that it's memory. It's not. Like I've never said this in any sort of way like this before because it's just flow. So if you go, oh man, that was so much, how am I going to remember it? Know that you don't have to remember, and just know that you'll know when you need to know when you're in flow. That's another aspect of flow, because sometimes you'll actually pull stuff from the future. Yeah, well, you'll pull stuff from other consciousness. And go ahead.
I feel like I have to share this. Day event, and they'll ask me for the keynote. And a day before the event, I haven't even thought about what I want to say. And then it just flows. And you have the same power to do that.
So that's like, it's actually easier to do that than to plan. That's the easiest way.
Seriously, though.
Yeah. So, where was I?
The F was feel, right?
Oh, right. So yeah. So like I said, when we feel the emotion fully, what actually happens to our consciousness, to our state of being, is we rise. Our vibration increases. So a lot of times we think, oh man, if I feel the negativity, I'm going to reinforce it. I'm going to go lower. If I acknowledge it, I'm going to create more of it. Actually, the opposite is true. If you look at a fear with love has to transform it. And all love is acceptance. All love is allowance. Those are the same idea.
Love is the absence of judgment.
Yes, which is just allowance. I'm just allowing this to be here. So when you feel the emotion, what happens is like you peak your head above the clouds. You were in the clouds. You go, man, I'm going to feel this. And then you peak above it. And only there can you actually access the belief system. Because believe it or not, your beliefs are higher in frequency than your emotions. It all comes down because beliefs are the most non-physical aspect of your mind. They're the blueprints. So you have to feel is like the gateway, shoop, up into the belief system. This is why after you guys go, oh, and you have like a big release, or what follows that? Oh my God, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Oh man, I do have community. Oh yeah, it always comes after. So you go into the feeling, and then you can get into the belief system. Once you're beyond the emotion, then you can go, okay. And you could start asking the questions, which we're going to have you guys break off into groups and start asking these questions. And there's going to be some questions that Jackie and Justin throw in too. But the questions that I like to ask, and we'll do a recap on this, is number one, what am I making this situation or person, what am I making this situation or person mean, or this circumstance or this event, what am I making this mean about myself in order to be feeling this way?
Say that again?
Yep. What am I making this situation or circumstance mean about myself? Because a lot of times we think, oh, well, if I just believe the situation is different, I'll feel better. Well, that's a very surface level belief, and beliefs build in structures. So it helps to always bring it back to yourself and go as deep as you can, because then you'll collapse the entire structure. What am I making this situation or circumstance mean about myself in order to be feeling this way? And if you're willing to hear the answer, and this is the most important part, this is in the Bible, ask and it is given. Because again, asking is actually just a state of being. But asking without being willing to hear the answer is not asking. That's like desperation. That's like avoidance. It's like another form of, I don't really want to hear it, but I'm going to ask and then wonder why it's not there and reinforce how disempowered I am. So you have to know that it's okay to hear the answer, that what you find is not going to be true, that it can't be true. So when you're not afraid to look at the negative belief because you know it's not true, then you'll be willing to hear the answer. So what am I making this situation or circumstance mean about myself in order to be feeling this way? And I'm willing to hear the answer. That's one question to ask. One of the questions I asked Mia today, and I ask probably 6 or 7 times a day to my clients. I literally just ask questions for a living. The question is, what's the scariest thing you can imagine happening? And that's a really interesting question because it actually keys into fear and uses fear against itself to make a fear-based belief come up. What's the scariest thing so you go to the deepest, darkest of the fear, and then you're going to get, boom, a really intense fear-based belief. So that's like the other end of the spectrum. So if I did do that, if I did act on that thing, if I did approach that person, if I did start the business, what's the scariest thing I can imagine happening? And then you go into that, and it might require some digging. Okay, well, why is that scary? Okay, well, what am I making that mean about me? And you might go and go and go deeper and deeper and deeper until you find something that usually will just elicit an emotion. Like, boom, oh, whoa. That's what I was believing. And it'll feel like a breakthrough.